This is the word problem section of the coordinate transformation worksheet. Section C says determine the coordinates of each translated image without graphing. Now, in order to do this, we're going to use the coordinate notation that we developed to describe different transformations, and these are listed here in the coordinate transformation worksheet. Okay, so number 1 says the vertices of rectangle DEFG are as follows, and they want us to translate the rectangle 10 units down to form rectangle D prime, E prime, F prime, G prime. So if we come back over here to the reference sheet, we see that if we're trying to translate down, our x coordinates are going to stay the same, and our y coordinates are going to be reduced by a certain amount c. And in that case, c is 10. So the way we're going to transform our original coordinates xy is in such a way that the x coordinates stay the same, and from our y coordinates, we subtract 10. Okay, so let's see what that does to our coordinates here. So d prime, -7 is going to stay the same. From our y coordinate, we're going to subtract 10, so it's going to be 1 minus 10, that's -9. Okay, e prime, -7 stays the same. Then we do 8 minus 10, that's -2. F prime, 1 stays the same. 8 minus 10 is -2. Okay, and g prime, 1 stays the same. 1 minus 10 is -9, and so that's going to be 1, -9. All right, now 2 is similar. 3 is also similar. 4 is slightly different. So here we have 2 translations. And so if we come over here to our reference sheet, you see that if we're translating left or right, our x coordinate is affected. If we go left, we're subtracting. If we go right, we're adding. If we go up or down, our y coordinate is affected. If we go up, we're adding. If we go down, we're subtracting. Okay, so here they want us to translate to the left, so we're going to subtract. And they want us to also translate up, so we're going to add. Okay, so the way that's going to look on our xy coordinates is that our x coordinate, we're going to subtract 5 because we're going to the left. And to our y coordinate, we're going to add 3 because we're going up. And so let's use this to develop our new coordinates. So r prime, 0 minus 5 is -5. 3 plus 3 is 6. Okay. S prime, 2 minus 5 is -3. 7 plus 3 is 10. T prime, 3 minus 5 is -2. -1 plus 3 is +2. And there we have it. Okay. So number 5, they want us to rotate triangle ABC 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. So if we go back to our reference sheet, right here we have a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation about the origin. And it says that we're going to take our original points x, y, and transform them such that we have -y, x. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this here so we can have this as reference. We're going to take our x, y's, and we're going to transform them such that the y becomes negative and the 2 coordinates switch positions. So we have -y, x. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So a prime, the 3 is going to become negative, and then we're going to swap the 2 coordinates. So that's going to be -3, 5. Okay, b prime. The 8 is going to become negative, and they're going to swap places. So that's -8, 2. C prime. The 5 becomes negative, and the 2 coordinates swap positions. That's -5, -4. Okay, they switch positions, and the y coordinate is made negative. Okay, there we go. Moving on. Okay, so I'm going to move this up here so it doesn't bother us. So number 6 here wants to do a 180 counterclockwise rotation. So we go back to our reference sheet, and here we have the 180 counterclockwise rotation about the origin. And we see that our original points are going to go from xy to being negative x, negative y. Right, so let's write this here so we can have as reference. We're going to take our coordinates x, y, and we're going to transform them such that they are both made to be negative. Or in other words, we're going to flip the signs. Right? Because if it's already negative and you plug it into here, that's going to be negative times a negative, which is a positive. Okay, so you could think of these as basically saying flip the sign. Okay, so d prime is going to be 7, negative 1, right? We just switched the signs. E prime is going to be positive 7, negative 8. F prime, negative 1, negative 8. We just flip the signs. And G prime is going to be negative 1, negative 1. Easy peasy. Okay. So 7 and 8 are also rotations, so I'll let y'all do that. Number 9 is a bit different. We have a reflection. Let's go see what our reference sheet says about reflections. Here it says it wants to reflect over the y-axis. So right here we have our transformation for reflecting over the y-axis. We're going to take our original point xy, and we're going to transform it such that we have negative x, y. Okay, so let's go ahead and write this up here just to have as a reference. We're going to take xy, and we're going to transform it such that we have, we flip the sign on the x, and the y stays the same. All right, so let's see what that's going to look like here. So d prime, on the negative 7, we flip the sign, so that's going to be positive 7, and the 1 stays the same. For e prime, flip the sign on the 7, that's positive 7, and the 8 stays the same. F prime, 1 becomes negative 1, 8 stays the same. And finally, G prime, we flip the sign on negative 1, and the y coordinate stays the same. Okay, so not too difficult. We just flip the signs on the x's. The y coordinate stayed the same. Number 10 is similar, except you're reflecting over the x-axis, and so it's basically going to be the opposite of this. Right? Here, since you're reflecting over the x-axis, your x is going to stay the same, but your y is going to flip signs. Okay, so you should be able to manage that. All right, now coming over here to section D. This is exactly the same as the section above, except now we have multiple transformations that we're doing. So here they want us to reflect triangle ABC over the y-axis, and then they want us to translate it 6 units up to form triangle A double prime, B double prime, and C double prime. Okay, so let's take this transformation by transformation and try and develop the coordinate notation to handle this transformation in one fell swoop. So let's start with our coordinates xy, and we want to reflect these coordinates over the y-axis. So if you remember, when we're reflecting over the y-axis, our y-coordinate stays the same, and our x-coordinate changes signs. So that's going to be negative x, y. Okay? And now they want us to translate 6 units up. And what you have to keep in mind is that now we're operating on these coordinates here. And you have to treat this whole expression as if it's our x-coordinate, and this as if it's our y-coordinate. And so when we're translating 6 units up, our x-coordinate is going to stay the same. Our x-coordinate is now negative x, so it's going to stay negative x. And we're going to add 6 units to our y-coordinate, so that's going to be y plus 6. All right, so now we can use this to take our original coordinates, A, B, C, directly to our new coordinates, A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. A prime. Plug in -3 to here. That's going to be +3. Then we plug in -2 to here. That's going to be -2 plus 6. That's 4. Okay. B prime, we flip the sign on the 5. That's +5. Then we have -7 plus 6. That's -1. And C prime, flip the sign on the 7. So that becomes +7. And we have -6 plus 6, which is 0. Okay. So relatively simple once you have the proper coordinate notation. Just plugging and chugging. Okay, so let's do number 2 for some more practice. Here they want us to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise and then translate 5 units down. Okay, so we have our XY coordinates, and we want to do a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. If you remember, that means we're going to flip the coordinates, and we're going to make the Y, the original Y, negative. Okay, so we're going to flip them, make the Y negative, the original Y negative. Okay, and now this is our new X coordinate. This is our new Y coordinate. So here it wants us to translate 5 units down. We're going to subtract 5 units from our new Y coordinate, which is X. Okay, so we're going to carry over the negative Y, and then we're going to subtract 5 units from our Y coordinate, which is now X. All right, so that's going to be X minus 5. All right, and that is the proper notation for this question. So let's go ahead and use that. So C prime, we plug in 1 for Y, so that's going to be -1. Then we plug in 2 for X, so that's going to be 2 minus 5, which is -3. We plug in 1 for Y, so that's -1. We plug in 5 for X, that's 5 minus 5, that's 0. We plug in 6 for Y, that's -6. Then we plug in 5 for X, that's 5 minus 5, that's 0. And finally, F prime, we plug in 6 for Y, so that's -6. Then we plug in 2 for X, and so that's 2 minus 5, that's -3. Okay, so not too bad. Once you've got your coordinate notation, like I said, it's just plug and chug. You just got to put some thought into how to develop that. So I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But that's all I got for you until the next assignment.